Fundamental rights. Fundamental rights in the Indian Constitution. Constitutional framework and significance. Enshrined in Part 3 of the Constitution, Articles 12 to 35. Essential for development of individual personality, justiciable and enforceable through courts. From bedrock of Indian democracy, balance between individual liberty and social control. Right to equality, Articles 14 to 18. Article 14, equality before law. State shall deny no person equality before law. Equal protection of laws within Indian territory. Universal application to all persons. Reasonable classification permitted. Article 15, prohibition of discrimination. No discrimination on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth. Special provisions for women and children. Enables reservation for socially and educationally backward classes. Permits special arrangement for advancement of any socially educationally backward classes. Article 16, equality of opportunity in public employment. Equal opportunity in matters of public employment. No discrimination in state employment. Reservation in appointments of backward classes. Permits residence requirements for certain positions. Article 17, abolition of untouchability. Practice of untouchability abolished and forbidden. Enforcement of disability arising from untouchability punishable. Protection of Civil Rights Act 1956 provides enforcement mechanism. Article 18, abolition of titles. Prohibits state from conferring titles. Military and academic distinctions exempted. Prohibits Indian citizens from accepting titles from foreign states. Right to freedom, Articles 19 to 22. Article 19, protection of 6 freedoms. Freedom of speech and expression, freedom to assemble peacefully without arms, freedom to form association unions, freedom to move freely throughout India, freedom to reside and settle anywhere in India, freedom to practice any profession, occupation, subject to reasonable restrictions in public interest. Article 20, protection and conviction for offences, protection against ex post facto laws, prohibition of double jeopardy, protection against self-incrimination. Article 20, protection of life and personal liberty. No deprivation of life, personal liberty except by procedure established by law. Expanded through judicial interpretation to include right to privacy, right to dignity, right to education, right to clean environment, right to health. Article 21A, right to education. Free and compulsory education for children aged 6 to 14 years. Added by 86th Constitutional Amendment Act 2002. Article 22, protection against arrest and detention. Right to be informed of grounds of arrest. Right to consult and be defended by legal practitioner. Right to be produced before magistrate within 24 hours. Preventive detention laws with safeguards. Right against exploitation, Articles 23 to 24. Article 23, prohibition of traffic in human beings and forced labor. Prohibits human trafficking and begar forced labor. Exception, compulsory service for public purposes. Article 24, prohibition of child labor. Prohibition of employment of children below 14 years in factories, mines, or other hazardous employment. Right to freedom of religion, Articles 25 to 28. Article 25, freedom of conscience and free profession. Freedom of conscience and free profession, practice and propagation of religion, subject to public order, morality, and health. State can regulate secular activities associated with religious practice. Article 26, freedom to manage religious affairs. Right to establish and maintain religious institutions. Manage own religious affairs. Own and acquire property. Administer property according to law. Article 27, freedom from payment of taxes for religious promotion. No compulsion to pay taxes for promotion of any particular religion. Article 28, freedom from religious instruction. No religious instruction in educational institution wholly maintained by state. In state-aided institutions, no compulsion to attend religious instruction. Cultural and educational rights, Article 29 to 30. Article 29, protection of interest of minorities. Right to conserve distinct language, script or culture. No denial of admission based on religion, race, caste, language. Article 30, right of minorities to establish educational institutions. All minorities have right to establish and administer educational institution, shall not discriminate in granting aid to minority institution. Right to constitutional remedies, Article 32 to 35. Article 32, right to move Supreme Court. Heart and soul of the Constitution, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Power to issue writs, habeas corpus, mandamus, prohibition, certiorari, quo warranto, guarantees enforcement of fundamental rights. Article 33. Power to Parliament to modify rights. Parliament can modify application to armed forces, intelligence agencies. Article 34. Restrictions on rights during martial law. Indemnity to persons acting again under martial law. Article 35. Legislation to give effect to rights. Parliament empowered to make laws for enforcement. Important doctrines and judicial interpretations. Doctrines of severability. If part of statute violates fundamental rights, only valid part struck down. Only invalid part struck down. Doctrine of eclipse. Pre-constitutional law inconsistent with fundamental rights become dormant. Doctrine of waiver. Fundamental rights cannot be waived by individuals. Expansion of Article 21. Menka Gandhi case introduced due process concept expanded to include various unenumerated rights. Basic structure doctrine. Keshavanand Bharati case, Parliament cannot amend basic structure. Fundamental rights form part of basic structure. Suspension of fundamental rights during national emergency, Article 352. Article 19 automatically suspended. President may suspend the other rights except Article 20 and 21. Suspension orders must be placed before Parliament. Critical analysis and contemporary issues. Judicial activism. Public interest litigation expanded access. Judicial innovation in protecting rights. Creative interpretation of fundamental rights. Balancing rights and restrictions. Reasonable restrictions under Article 19. Conflict between individual rights and social interests. Evolving interpretation with changing social needs. Emerging rights. Digital privacy rights. LGBTQ plus right, Navtesh Singh Johar case, 2018. Environmental rights, right to be forgotten. Enforcement challenges, implementation gaps, social and economic barriers to accessing rights, balancing fundamental rights with directive principles. Fundamental rights represent the constitutional commitment to human dignity and individual freedom while maintaining social order and national integrity. They continue to evolve through judicial interpretation and legislative action, adapting to contemporary challenges while preserving their core and constitutional values. That's it for fundamental rights.